Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Satellarknight deck profile, and boy is this deck going to be stellar. I'm excited for this deck because this deck is a really cool deck for a beginner duelist, but it's also a deck for a seasoned duelist because this came out during the Duelist Alliance era, which this deck is a really fun deck that basically normal summons a monster, searches, and then special summons another monster, and then sets 5 and passes, which is a good control-based deck. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, become part of the notification squad, and let's get started on this. But before we do, don't forget to check out that Patreon in the description because we have some really cool rewards for you guys, like getting a signed card, getting your name in the description of every single video, or even getting you to request a deck profile just like this one every single month. So let's get straight on into this, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Satellarknight Deneb. So basically what she does is when she is summoned, just summoned, you get to add a Tellarknight monster from your deck to your hand, which is really good effect to be able to just immediately search. 3 copies of Altair. Altair's effect is when it's summoned, you get to target a Tellarknight monster in your grave and special summon it. In defense position, but it can attack for the rest of the turn, except for Tellarknight monsters can attack. Which is not that big of a deal because you're usually going to summon a Tellarknight monster like Travare. 3 copies of Anukalai. Anukalai is really cool because when it's normal summon, you get to send a Tellarknight monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is a good effect to be able to just send one of your Tellarknight monsters directly from the deck. 2 copies of Vega. Vega's good as a 2-of, in my opinion, because when it's normal summoned, when she is normal summoned, you get to special summon a Tellarknight monster from your hand, which can help you, kind of combo off into your other monsters. And then 1 copy of Alsham. This card is kind of debatable. You can put an Alsham in there, or one of the copies of Rigel, or one of the other ones that you like. In this position, I really like Alsham because it burns for 1,000 every time it's summoned, and with your Altair, you keep summoning this card over and over again, which is really easy to do. And in this card is summon, you just inflict 1,000 points damage to your opponent, and you can activate its effect once per turn. But every turn you summon it, you inflict that extra 1,000 points of damage, which is really powerful. So that's it for the Tellarknights. They're really simplistic, really, you just put them on the field and then go off. That's all you have to do. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. I don't play any hand traps in here because I want to be able to set 5 and pass. I really focus around the trap cards in this deck. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Rhoda because all of our monsters are warrior monsters and easy to add to the hand. 1 copy of Utopia double because they're all level 4s and it's really easy to OTK your opponent. That's why I'm not playing Honest in here, is because you just activate the Utopia double and swing at your opponent for the 10,000 to win. 1 copy of Satellarknight Skybridge. Satellarknight Skybridge lets you target a Tellarknight monster you control and special summon a Tellarknight monster with a different name from your deck. And if you do, you shuffle the targeted monster into the deck. And then while the monster is special summoned by this effect on the field, you cannot special summon monsters except for Tellarknight monsters. Not that big of a deal because you're usually going to overlay into a Travare anyways. Really quickly. Then we play 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Yes, we do play Pot of Desires because you really need to get to your trap cards. You're not really worried about what you banish. So I play this card as a 2-of just to dig into the deck a little bit deeper to get the cards that I really need to my hand as quickly as possible. Then I play 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality is something because you don't always normal summon, or you don't always special summon. You might have a turn where you just normal summon a copy of Deneb and then add a Tellarknight from your deck to your hand, like a copy of Altair, knowing that she's going to go to the graveyard the following turn. And then after she does go to the graveyard by activating a copy of like Stellar Nova Alpha, attributing her to negate something, you might have 5 other cards set and just build up your hand on a turn. Then we play 3 copies of Call by the Grave because it just negates hand traps, essentially. That's all it does, and that's all you really need it to do. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. The traps are the bread and butter of the deck, essentially where this deck really starts to function, because that's how many traps we're playing. It's quite a few. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Stellar Nova Alpha. So Stellar Nova Alpha is a really cool card because when a spell or trap, when any card effect is activated, you can send a face-up Tellarknight monster you control to the grave and negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, and then you draw a card. So it replaces itself. It is a -1, but it does get rid of a card. It kind of breaks even because you're giving up 2 cards, but you're getting 1 in return, and you're getting rid of an opponent's card, so it kind of breaks even, but it disrupts your opponent, which is really good. Then we play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. The Solemn Judgments just say, hey, I'm going to say no to any 1 card, essentially. I can flip this to negate the effect of a spell trap or monster effect, which is really cool. I really like that effect. Or negate a summon, which is really good as well. Yeah, I really like that effect. It's just such a good card as a 3 of in here. We play for the continuous trap cards, which is the main reason you play this deck, because Trevere can bounce them all back to the hand and reuse them again, which is nuts. You play 2 copies of Fiendish Chain because you can negate the effect of a monster and then it can attack as well, which is really good to be able to just negate an attack and be able to make it so Trevere can bounce it so you can negate another monster's attack as well. 3 copies of Call of the Haunted. Call of the Haunted is really good because when you flip Call of the Haunted, you just bring back a copy of like Deneb, Altair, Alsham, something like that. Burn your opponent for 1,000, add a card from deck to hand, special summon another Satellarknight, whatever you need to do. Same thing with Oasis of Dragon Souls. Oasis of Dragon Souls just lets you special summon another monster from your graveyard, which is really, really, really helpful. Now, the reason you play these over Back to the Front or even Monster Reborn is because Trevere says, hey, I'm going to spin every single card back from the field into the hand, and then you can reuse all these on your next turn. Then we play 3 copies of Crackdown as well. Crackdown is really good in here because it lets you target a monster your opponent controls and you take control of it, and it gets it off your opponent's side of the field. Now, this card is nuts in this deck because what you do is you take your opponent's monster and then you get rid of it by, linking it away or synchro summoning, or not synchro summoning, but Tellarknight synchro summoning. But you link it away or you use it as an XYZ material for something, and then you shuffle this back into your hand with Trevere's effect, and then you use it again to get that monster, get another monster, which is really, really good to be able to take multiple monsters to disrupt your opponent. Even if it just negates the effect, it's good to be able to disrupt your opponent. So that's it for the that's it for all of the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. Like I said, the main deck's pretty self-explanatory. You normal summon these, you search, you special summon from graveyard, send to graveyard, special summon from hand, burn for 1,000. That's essentially what they do. It's really simplistic. Then we play for the extra deck. You're playing 3 copies of Satellarknight Trevere. So Satellarknight Trevere is basically the big boss monster that you're always going to be summoning. I know he doesn't look like much, but he is the boss monster. What he does is he does take 3 Tellarknight monsters, which we do have a way to get into it with the Dark Tellarknight. We have a really easy way to get into this card without using 3 monsters, but during the turn you XYZ summon this card, you cannot special summon monsters except for Tellarknight monsters. And if this card is XYZ summoned, you return all other cards on the field to the hand. He shuffles everything back into the hand. If it's a monster from the extra deck, they go back to the extra deck. This card is insane. He also has the ability that once per turn, you can detach a material from him to send a random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. And if this card is XYZ summoned and sent to the graveyard, you can target a Tellarknight monster in your grave and special summon it, which can be Altair, then special summons Deneb, Deneb searches, and then you get going from there. 1 copy of Deltaros. Deltaros is interesting because when this card is XYZ summoned, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal or special summon monsters. And once per turn, you can detach a material from him to target 1 card on the field and destroy it. And if this card is sent from the field to the grave, you can special summon a Tellarknight monster from your hand or deck, which is really good. 2 copies of the Dark Tellarknight. Basically, this card lets you climb into your Trevere extremely easily by just using 2 monsters. And that artwork is fantastic with having Construct on it. I fell in love with this artwork when it first came out. But all face-up monsters on the field become dark, and then you can detach a material from this card, and then discard a card to special summon 1 monster from your extra deck. It's a light Tellarknight monster using this card as a material. And then also, you can XYZ summon 1 other monster. You cannot XYZ summon for the rest of the turn, and this is treated as an XYZ summon and is attached to material. And this effect cannot be activated during either player's turn if you have 7 or more Tellarknight monsters with different names in your graveyard. But we don't really play 7 or more Tellarknights. You just play like 5 in the main deck, and then you play like 3 in the main extra deck, so you play like 8 total, I think. So it's very rare that you can actually pull that effect off. Basically, you just activate this card on your turn, detach the material, summon Trevere, and then just wipe the board. 1 copy of Satellarknight Constellar Diamond. Basically, this is M7 but upgraded. Basically, during your main phase 2, you can XYZ summon this card using a Tellarknight XYZ monster. So any of these, you can just XYZ summon this card, and then it has the effect of neither player can send cards from the deck to the graveyard, and any cards that were turned from the graveyard to the hand are banished instead. And then during either player's turn, when an opponent activates a Dark Monster's effect, you can detach a material and negate the activation if you do destroy it, which is really good because there's a lot of dark monsters that activate their effects that you can just hit that are in the extract. Let me play a single copy of Utopia and Utopia Double. These help you OTK your opponent extremely easy because all you have to do is overlay a copy of Utopia Double, detach a material from it, add double or nothing to your hand, overlay the copy of Utopia on top of the Utopia Double, swing at your opponent, detach another material from the Utopia, negate the attack, drop the double or nothing, and attack for 10,000. One copy of number 41, Baguska, just to help you stall. Exciton Knight, just to blow board, just in case you need to. Number 60, to double the attack of a monster, draw 2 or discard 1, or even bring back one of your Tellarknight monsters if you need to. Boral Sword, just to help OTK a little bit more. Unicorn, because Unicorn helps out with the Crackdown plays, because you can link away the Crackdown, the monster that you have with Crackdown. And then one copy of Phoenix, because Phoenix helps you pop spells and traps, which again, you can use this with using 2 of the monsters that you take from your opponent, which is super helpful. So that's it for the deck, guys. It's a very, very simple deck. It's fun to play around with. If I was going to teach somebody to play Yu-Gi-Oh, this would probably be one of the decks that I would first introduce them to, because it basically just shows them, hey, you can go over and tell them what the monsters do simply by normal summon, and then show them the traps and say, okay, these revive, these take opponents' monsters, these revive cards, these make it so they can't attack, this says no to anything, these say no to anything, this stops cards that I discard from hand, this draws cards, this special summons, this OTKs, and this searches. And you can teach them how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Really easily, and summon Triumvirate at every chance. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell on there so you can come part of the notification squad. Definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. Tell me how you enjoy Tellarknights and how you enjoy Duelist Alliance era decks. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And definitely check out that Patreon down in the description. See you later, guys.